Welcome to Vinyl Verdict. I'm Bell.
I'm Jamie.
And I'm Adam.
And this week, it's my pick. We're listening to This Old Dog by Mac DeMarco.
Also true.
Mac DeMarco, born McBriar Samuel Lanyon DeMarco. No.
The fourth.
No. Born Werner Winfield McBriar Smith IV, and then turned into McBriar Samuel Lanyon DeMarco when he was 5, otherwise known as Mac DeMarco, was born in Duncan, BC, Canada, then raised in Edmonton, Alberta, and then he moved to Vancouver, BC, so he's pretty much a local to us all.
Sort of.
Local man.
Local man.
Other than to Jamie. Maybe he lived in Toronto at one point.
Cool.
He definitely did not live in Langley.
No one lives in Langley.
Not a single person. But, I always give bonus points to local artists. But I don't really need to in this circumstance because Mac is sneakily one of my favorite artists. Mac is one of those artists I throw on when I don't really know what to listen to because I like most of his stuff, but I actually haven't really sat down and listened to his music analytically before. And I think it kind of gave me a deeper appreciation for his stuff and the evolution that came with this album.
Sure.
As this is his third album that came out in 2017. And I picked it because it's, like I said, a bit of a shift from some psychedelic stoner indie rock to something a bit more introspective and meaningful.
It's folky.
Yeah. Mac is known as like a goofy guy. His interviews are kind of all over the place, and his charm really comes on his live performances. But this album feels a lot more serious with him singing about heartbreak, strained relationships, and his really strained relationship with his distant and absent father, and wrestling with death and loss. There aren't many lyrics in most of these songs, but he introduces some interesting stories and concepts. Though, other than like the last 2 songs, I really wish that he did expand more on the concepts because they're really familiar and they're left in dreamy ways that are unexplored but let you kind of be in the shoes of some of these characters.
Yeah.
But sometimes you just kind of want to have a full story, which you don't really get. The album is 13 tracks long, but it's not too long of a runtime, as most of the songs are under 3 minutes. And I think it works because the songs are pretty much all driven by acoustic guitar, but it stays, or I guess it avoids being repetitive because of the fact that it changes up pretty quickly. And then you get something faster and slower and stuff like that. So it doesn't feel too stale. But what did you guys think? Did you enjoy this album?
I liked it. The thing about Mac DeMarco is for years I was convinced that Mac DeMarco and Mac Miller were the same person.
They were friends
I got
one
them.
point.
Sure.
It's crazy.
I got them confused, and I didn't listen to Mac DeMarco because I thought he was a rap artist. And then
He's not.
And then it turns out he's not, and his music is something that I would be interested in. As a person who enjoys listening to artists like Neil Young, who has similar albums with like simple lyrics, somewhat simple instrumentation, but also like the lyrics are kind of talking about something deeper, but never really get it, past skin deep on stuff. I like this album quite a bit. Would I listen to more Mac DeMarco? Sure, probably. If presented to me, I probably would, listen to it some more. Spotify tried to get me to listen to. I thought this album was like 40 tracks long at one point, and it turned out it just played a whole bunch of other Mac DeMarco stuff, and I was like, oh, this is all pretty good. He's got that one album that's like really, really long.
Yeah, you should listen to One Way and G. It's like 199 songs and 8 hours long. It's just like every demo he'd recorded over the last like 7 years.
Yeah.
I listen to it actually often. We listen to it in a little office at work because it's something a friend of the podcast, Jonathan Horst, and I can agree on. And it's great. What did you think, Adam?
So I'm relatively familiar with Mac DeMarco, but mainly his first 2 albums, 2 and especially Salad Days. That was a really big indie hit. And I totally love the vibe. It was hazy. It was laid back. It was summery. In the way it's just a great album. But I never really explored much more of his catalog after that. I remember there being a level of disappointment around this album when it came out, and I think that was because of how much hype was surrounding Salad Days. Mm-hmm. Because everyone that was such a celebrated album that it was kind of impossible to follow it up. Though it's interesting to look back on it now, because I think now that we're 8 years out from this album release, or 7-ish. So
7.
It's been a few. I think people have gone back and looked at it in a much more. They look at it more highly in a better light now that it's not just like
The one that came
Now that
after
people
the
understand
one.
that they didn't just want Salad Days too. I quite enjoy it. I think that you can hear a massive improvement in the production. Because Mac has, I think, almost always handled all of the production on his albums, which is, I think, what part of why his sound is so cohesive. But here things are a lot more clean. The budget sounds higher. Like, he's not doing anything complex, but his voice is more clear. It's less washed out, less hazy. And I think that that is great because it really gives a moment for the songwriting and instrumentation to shine through. It's simple, but I love how he's able to weave so many kind of different lines together to make a really satisfying and full track. And I also found this album like very relatable because this album is about aging. And I know that it might be laughable to older folks, but like as I rapidly approach my 30s, I think about my aging more and more and how things change and stuff like that. And that's kind of what this whole album's about, is grappling with that and with your past and stuff, and how love shifts and grows and how your relationships change and the way you look at things change. It's a really cool album, and it's really introspective compared to his previous stuff, which was more just kind of like, I don't know, laid back and inspecific. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think he even wrestles with that change in a couple of songs that come up later, but he talks about, not, or being like loose and go with the flow, and how that actually hurts and harms relationships because then they don't really know who you are. And it's an interesting shift to focus so much on stuff with his father because he was diagnosed with cancer while writing this album. So there's a lot of wrestling with death and relationship with him. And, how, his father left when he was 5 due to being an alcoholic and an addict. And then also seeing that he's a partier who smokes cigarettes and drinks, and how that affects him and his body. And, is something that he's kind of inherited from his father and his lifestyle. So I think it's really interesting to see that shift. But I could also see that if you were a huge fan of the goofy stoner rock that came prior, this would be a big change. But for me, who was only kind of like a distant fan for Salad Days and 2, who knew Salad Days and Chamber of Reflection and, Rock and Roll Nightclub and stuff like that, those were good albums that I was aware of because they were such hits. But this is really the one that I dived into and was like, oh man, this rocks. And it really fits the vibe of, warm summer day, windows open kind of feel. And I love that.
It also fits like a quiet fall day. And like, it has a nice warm tone to it. It's nice to listen to on a kind of a poopy day like today. Like today is kind of cold and rainy, and the leaves are falling outside. And then we put it on for our one last listen, and it's kind of nice. You know what I mean?
Jamie's gaslighting you. It's actually sunny right now, but it is cold. I'll give him that.
Is it sunny right now? It was raining when Adam got here. Anyway.
Some would say a mix of sun and cloud.
You're so diplomatic, Adam. Well, hey, let's give it one last listen and get right into it.
It's just like seeing her for the first time again. Honey, my heart still beats for you, even though you don't feel it. Turns out all you had is one more love. Out to break your heart.
My Old Man. A song about Mac taking some time to self-reflect and realizing that all his partying and having fun is starting to age him and make him look and act more like his father. I watched a video of Mac bumping into his dad while he was on tour, and the whole exchange is very awkward. So I could see him not wanting to turn into his distant dad. It was like, whoa, like, you're here. Are you going to come to the show or whatever? And the dad's like, oh, like, I'm just going to run home and like, I'll try to swing by later, blah, blah, blah. And it was like so weird because like, why was his dad
even nearby?
Like at the venue or nearby the venue when he must have known? And then he was like, yeah, no, it was like making a point to be like, I'm not going to be here. It was very odd. But I do like how it's explored a bit more in the second verse with him singing about new love and how, the closer you get to people, that same love can push people away from you. as you stop showing that appreciation to your partners, you kind of get used to each other. I think it's neat. And I like the stove ignition type beat in the background, and the simple plodding synth that kind of drives the song.
Yeah, the drum machine's very, it's very nice and simple, and the acoustic guitar riff is really, really nice. And I find this song very relatable. Just the chorus, I don't feel quite so badly about my father. I love my dad, but I do find myself more and more seeing more and more of like my dad in me, and like I don't want that, because I want it, like, not because I hate my dad or anything. It's just because I want to be my own person.
Yeah.
But obviously, it's inescapable. You are like the sum of all of the people who raised you and all the people that you spend time with.
Yeah.
So like, no matter what you do, parts of them are part of you. But like, man, I want to be my own guy. I don't want to be my dad. Love you, Dad.
I like the wideness of the sound of this one too, and there's some fun panning between the speakers. There's not really a whole lot going on in the song, but I definitely did not think it was 3 minutes and 45 seconds long.
No.
It takes its time, but it doesn't seem to waste the time, which I appreciate.
Yeah, echoing Adam, I thought that the tone on the acoustic was beautiful. Like, it just has like this nice rich tone to it. But I like that it had the phone ringtone like marimba sound in the background a little bit. Yeah, I like the little, like the like,
Gives me like Peanuts vibes.
Sure,
Like Charlie Brown Peanuts kind of thing.
Yeah. I thought that it was interesting that the song is actually negative sounding, despite the sound of the tone of the song being positive sounding. Like, the lyrics are negative.
I love how "uh-oh" is such a fun thing to sing.
Yeah.
Uh-oh, looks like. It's like fun words. Then we get the title track. It's a love song. It's about how even though Mac is away on tour and that can make his partner feel separated from him, Mac's an old dog and he won't forget or lose his love for her. Yeah, he's not learning any new tricks.
Reflects on aging and stuff like that too. And then like it has this beautiful little, like, I want to call it slide guitar, but it's not.
It's like a steel guitar, but I don't think it is.
I think he's just playing like a slide on a guitar, right?
Yeah, and he's still doing the fade in and stuff. Like,
it's like almost like strings, but has that warmth of the guitar.
It's the attackless noise that a steel guitar kind of sounds like, but I don't think it's actually a lap steel or anything like that. I wonder.
Yeah, the song takes a slight dip in production quality compared to the last song, but not in a negative way. It just makes it feel more real. It's like he's playing directly to his partner. Like, the whole band is just sitting around a mic and playing the song, and I think it adds quite a lot to, again, this assurance to your partner. You know, you're playing to them, letting them know that you are there for them. You're not going to move on. You're not going to forget them, even though you might be away for chunks of time.
Yeah, this album, this song feels like something off of Salad Days, just in the shape of it, not with the slide guitar or the lap steel, but with his vocal cadence and with the guitar riff. It reminds me of Salad Days so much, but like, it's clear. It's just not hazed and washed out. It's a nice song. It's a nice vibe.
It's sweet, short, simple. I also like a little whammy at the end of each of those little lap guitar riffs. It's like wah, wah, wah. Very tasteful.
Yeah, he does a lot. He makes use of I don't know what the actual term is, but it's like tape. It's like he does like a waver thing on a lot of the synths,
like a tape.
Where he's like slowing it down very slightly. So
he puts his finger on the tape. Yeah,
I can't remember what the actual term is, but it can be distracting, or it can work really well. And on this album, it works really, really well. Well, like.
I enjoyed reading an interview about some of the equipment he uses, and he was talking about his one guitar that he really likes, but he had to stop playing it on tour because he would play it and it would fall apart while he was playing it, because like the neck is no longer attached to the body anymore.
Yeah, he would just keep using the same guitar he like learned on.
Yeah, and like it would just like crumple while he was playing it, and he'd be like, "Oh, I guess I gotta get another guitar," and like in the middle of a song. I just picture him recording this album and like, whoa.
Imagine the first time that happens and you aren't prepared for it to crumble, and you're like, I guess the show is over. You're like,
2 songs in, we're done.
Right.
No.
After this, we get "Baby You're Out." Another shorter track with a simple message. This one's about not dwelling on what could have been and instead focusing on what and who you currently have in your life and how great it is to have them. You know, I'm a big believer in this way of thinking because if you always focus on your past, you'll never enjoy the present or plan for the future, which is something that paralyzed me as a teenager. You know, it's like you think about, oh, I messed that up, and then you ignore the opportunities you currently have. It's a lot of fun, like kicking out the song with lots of synths, the basic drums and shakers and guitar work. I also like the choral effect added to Mac's singing in the chorus. It gives us a bit of a dreamlike feeling. It's like he's calling you out of a stupor. Like he's, whoa, don't worry about it. You're out of it. Move on, kind of thing. It's all good.
Yeah, I agree. I love the lyrical content of the song. I feel the same way. It's like, you know, you made it through. Like, why be sad about the past? If you made it through, you're good now. And I really like that little drum noise. It's just like the little it's almost like a tabla or something. And I like how all of the parts are kind of doing a different thing. The guitar is very different. There's that like little bass walk down, and then there's the little accents from the keyboard. Compositionally, there's a lot going on, and it all blends and feels so low effort and laid back. It's really, really cool. It's a really, really great songwriting on this track.
Yeah, he plays the instruments and places them in ways where it's like he doesn't want you to know that he knows what he's doing. It's like it's all very purposeful and sounds really good and layered really well, but it's like still tries to come off as like a very cool and relaxed, and I think it works really well.
It's like deceptively complex. You don't realize how it sounds simple, but it's not. It's really cool.
Yeah. I think it's cool that he's playing everything on this album. We compared it to like Tame Impala, but Tame Impala has like a much more complex sound, despite the fact that it's just one dude. When I say complex, I mean layered or whatever. But yeah, Mac makes a lot of work out of, or makes a lot of use out of just him, which is very interesting. I like that.
Yeah, Adam and I went and saw this weird 3D audio version of his acoustic or instrumental album, 5 Easy Hot Dogs. And it really gave me an appreciation for how he's like placing and playing each instrument, where it's like everything just feels so purposeful in such a cool way.
Yeah,
it's an album I definitely recommend if you like instrumentals, or, you know, like the sounds on this album, but maybe can't relate to lyrics, or you can and you just enjoyed it and want to listen to more. It's such a unique album that I think people really slept on.
Yeah, it was really interesting. I want to go into the spatial audio thing. So he did a residency at this studio. It's called Lobe Studio. And they have like a whole room for spatial listening, as well as they have like audio transducers in the floor.
Oh, weird.
So like the bass and like sounds come from the floor, and the bass like rumbles the floor a little bit.
The sound comes from the floor?
He did a mix in that space specifically for that space.
Oh, interesting.
From that album. And so you can like, he'll like move stuff around the room, or you'll like you can like walk around the room, and you can go under one of the like, there was like 12 speakers in the ceiling, 12 in the floor, and then a bunch of omnidirectional speakers. And you can like go just like stand directly under some of the speakers, and you'll just like hear the guitar part almost like will be most of what you hear. Or like there's the one that was really annoying because I remember I had to move because the wood block was right behind me, and it was so annoyingly loud that I just had to move. Or he'd do stuff where like he'd have something swirl around the room. It was a really cool experience. It's a neat venue.
Yeah, it also really shows how many instruments are hidden in each of those tracks. Like the wood block, we're like, oh yeah, like I never really noticed.
Yeah,
because when you're listening with AirPods, it just can't give you all of the noise on all of the instruments. It was really, really neat. And again, I think when you really listen to even this album, it's the same kind of thing where you're like, whoa, like there's some really cool stuff deep in there. And I think that comes out in the next track, For the First Time, which is a bit of a higher production one. And it's a song about how hard being in a long distance relationship is. And you got to remember that you'll see each other again, and you'll fall in love all over again, just like when you first met.
Yeah.
And I relate to that because I suck at long distance relationships. But when you see them again, it's like, oh, hell yeah. I forgot somehow that like you're my best friend or whatever it is. The dreamy kind of toy organ sounding synth used in this song is awesome. It's a little sharp on the ears at sometimes, but I think it's so ethereal and somehow perfectly fits this dreamy vibe of falling in love or seeing that person again. And it's the second time this season I've said it, but it's given a little bit of like 80s dark fantasy sounding synth to it. And I really enjoy it.
Yeah, it has somewhat of a sharp tone on it at some points, but it's not like jarring. The song has 599 million plays on Spotify.
It was a TikTok song.
Oh.
Was it?
Yeah, so it was it blew up on TikTok as a backdrop song for a lot of stuff.
I had no
That's
idea.
why it has like 20 times the amount of listens as anything on this album. I asked Shay, and she's like, "Oh yes, this is a TikTok song." I couldn't find any specific examples, but that's why this one's so huge. Because I would not expect this to be the big song from the album.
No, not at all. I
Um,
wonder what the situation was on that one. Because
I think it's a vibe thing. Like it was just in
Yeah.
the background a lot.
like TikTok sometimes like put like a theme to a song, and then it becomes associated with like this like meme format.
Yeah. I think this was more of like a summer vibe type TikTok. But this is a very Mac DeMarco song. This is the exact kind of thing that I think of with Mac DeMarco. And here you can really hear it. It's tape warp. That's what I had it written down in my notes later.
Oh wow!
Where you speed like the like pitch of the synth like very kind of goes down and back into pitch as he's like slowing. Not actually, I don't know if he's actually using tape. He's probably not actually doing
He's
a
probably
tape warp. He's probably
playing
using
with
like a
pitch.
plug-in or something.
Yeah.
But it gives that kind of dreamy feel to it where like the pace is always like a little off. And I like how he uses his harmony. I guess he's really not really a harmony. He's just up the octave. But in the chorus, he's just like singing up the octave. And he has a really kind of like crappy and unrefined falsetto. But the way he puts it just in the background, it has this kind of texture to his voice that's really, really cool and helps with that dreaminess. Yeah, this is a good song. It's a vibe.
Mm-hmm. After that is One Another. It's a heartbreak song, kinda. Even though the song is about an ended relationship, it's pretty much Mac just telling his friend, sure, your relationship ended, but things didn't end badly, and it's time to look towards the future. At one point, he even says, not like your heart broke. Time to move on, bud. Just, move on.
I like that it has this little bass line that walks up at the start. It's kind of fun. And then it has this like cool little riff. I
This is
kind of
the-
like that.
It's the happiest breakup song. This is like
Yeah.
this is the breakup song they'd put in a kids show.
Sure.
You know?
Right? It's just like, hey, I like the line, you lose a love, you gain a friend. You know, it's sweet to think that though things ended, it's amicable. You still have each other in each other's lives. I also like the opening line, hey, kid, everyone's prone to some mistakes. If you'd always kept it straight, you'd never learn. So it's like, hey,
Word.
at least you learned something in all this.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think he's like, don't think of it as a waste. Right? He's like, you grew, you were following your heart at the time, and then your heart changed.
Yeah.
Like that wasn't a waste of your time. That was the right thing for you. Like for that little time. It's super optimistic, and it's infectiously optimistic even.
Yeah,
Like, you're just like,
I
this is
agree
really
with that.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, instrumentally, it's nothing special compared to previous songs, but it's nice. It's easy to listen to. It, again, fits the lyrics that are going on. After that is Still Beating, one of my favorite songs by Mac. It's kind of similar to This Old Dog, but it's slightly sadder. In this one, it's him saying that he'll always love his partner, but also realizing that when he sings songs and writes lyrics about other people, it could hurt her feelings since she doesn't know that some of the stories he's telling are made up. So he sings about how he doesn't realize that his songs will hurt her and tells her that she's the only person he wants to sing to or about. As a silly, maybe even goofy guy like Mac DeMarco, I've hurt some feelings, had to backtrack a bit, so I relate to the feeling of like, oh man, I love you so much, I'm so sorry that I hurt you even though it was unintentional. Because you never realize that something that you're joking around about could hurt somebody. It's another acoustic guitar heavy song, but I like the electric guitar that kind of plays along throughout the track. It ends some nice layers with the bass plodding along in the background with the acoustic guitar
Yeah.
taking the lead.
It's a song not about a lost love. It's about a song it's about a love that was wrecked by the guy being a doofus, which I get behind.
I wouldn't say wrecked.
Or like,
It kind of toes that line because it's almost like an apology song.
Yeah, sort
but
of,
it's
yeah.
like he's like, I find it so I don't feel like it's that negative as to be a breakup song, because it is like he's like, just because you don't feel it all the time doesn't mean I don't still love you. Like, don't forget that that maybe if I'm not expressing it directly to you, it's still there. Like I promise that, and I think it's a really nice promise.
Yeah, because he even says like it's half and half make believe, because she thought my heart was on my sleeve. Like she thought he was being genuine by saying that he loved someone else and was going through all this, and he's like, "Whoa, nope,
Time out.
sorry,
Yeah.
just songs, just writing stuff," which is, I guess, something I'll never have to deal with. But I'm sure as a musician, it must be challenging to tell stories and be like,
Was this song about me?
"Yeah, you're like, oh, my parents think this is actually about them, that I hate them, but it's not," or whatever it is. Like that's a fun, weird thing to have to think about.
Yeah, this is a clear highlight on the album for me. I love this song.
Yeah, I liked it too.
Yeah, it's really really beautiful.
Speaking of Sister, the next song, it's short, it's sad, and it's written for Mac's sister Holly, that I also think is very beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
He says that he's sorry for her loss, and though he can't be with her at the moment, she'll always have this song to listen to, so she knows he's sending her his best wishes. I don't know what happened, but Final Verdict also loves you, Holly.
I thought it was. I think he wrote it thinking that his father would die, and then his father didn't die.
He did die eventually.
Yeah, but not during the recording of this album, right?
Potentially.
Oh no.
Oh, I mean, like, potentially that's what it's about. Who
Yeah.
knows? Unfortunately, I couldn't find anything online.
No.
I did some A+ duck going.
Wow.
I should have Googled it. I would have got the answer immediately.
This
This song is End Side A. I think it's a nice little tone switch from the light and fluffy songs before, and then heading back into it with the next song, Dreams from Yesterday. But it's a good placement to kind of put it.
It's slightly out of phase, which I'm okay with. Like, it doesn't it sound kind of weird?
Yeah, he's got some sort of effect on his guitar.
Yeah, I kind of like that.
Yeah, no, it's a really cute song, and I think it's a nice tonal shift. It's I feel like it kind of marks like the first half from the second half of this album, and it's a really good placement for this kind of short track, and it's very pretty.
Literally.
Yeah.
7 out of 13 songs, End of Side A. Great placement. And then we get Dreams from Yesterday, a song similar to Baby You're Out, but this one's a bit more blunt in its like move on sentiment. It's like, you've made choices and closed off certain opportunities, so don't cry about it because you're the one who gave up the dreams. Harsh.
Yeah.
But also true.
It's about knowing when to follow your dreams.
Yeah, it's a tough love approach. Sure, there are what ifs, but what you have now is Baby You're Out, and this one's you live with the choices you've made. He even says something like, you should have a dream where there's nothing worth waking up for. It's a very harsh, tough love. It's like, okay. I don't know if I fully agree with that second sentiment, but maybe whoever he wrote the song for needed that tough love of like, get out of bed and start working towards something. Because, sometimes you need to hear that.
It's got that instrument in the background that sounds like water dripping.
The wood block?
Is that what that is?
Yeah,
is that a wood block?
It's
Okay, cool.
doing the clave.
Yeah.
It's doing the clave.
That's what it's playing a clave beat.
Sure.
That's why it feels Latin.
Thank you, music.
Bossa Nova.
I was going to say it feels a little bossa nova.
Yeah.
I love the long synth note that plays at the song. Like, it just really long.
Just giving her
notes.
just giving her a press, yeah.
Yeah, it's an odd tone. It feels slightly unsettling, but it's a tough conversation, so it kind of works.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just like slightly detuned. It's not quite the right note. But it's also like it's such a laid back song. It's such this is so much of Mac DeMarco stuff. He's like, this is such a chill vibe, which I think is why it's so like kind of easy to put on and so eminently playable, because you're just like, yeah, this is a good vibe. Even when it's kind of sad, you don't have to like engage with it that aggressively emotionally. It's easy listening, and not in a disparaging way, because I feel like easy listening is kind of a disparaging term a lot of the time.
Yeah. I mean, there's a number of albums that I like that are labeled as easy listening, and I consider that a slur because I think they're just a folk album and not easy listening.
You know what I consider a slur?
What? Oh, God.
The next song is a wolf who... The next song is a wolf who wears sheep's clothes. Mac's here to remind you to be yourself, because if you pretend to be someone else to meet new people, you may as well be a wolf who wears sheep's clothes, because you will probably be misunderstood.
Word.
It's another song where I really like the opening line. Just trying to keep it light, sometimes cast a shadow. Comes to me like being passive and not sharing your feelings. Keeps people in the dark, which ties with the theme of the song really well. Being agreeable your whole life would be extremely boring and unfulfilling for both you and your friends.
Yeah.
Jamie.
Word. Noted. Thank you. Thank you for the feedback, Bell. I like the bass line, and I like the little riff it's got. It's kind of fun.
I wish the bass was a little bit more forward in some songs, because I feel like the bass work is quite good throughout the whole album.
Yeah.
But it never really gets a huge time to shine. And, lots of albums don't really have a prominent bass, but
he's not playing anything remarkable, but it is nice.
Yeah. There's some fun little steps and stuff like that. Even like the little riff in this song, it shows like Mac knows how to play some more complicated stuff. He just doesn't feel the need to, and at least this album. Really fun instrumentation. I like the fluttering guitar, the tasteful harmonica.
Yeah, the harmonica was an instrument I did not know I needed on this album, and now I wish there was way more.
Yeah, it fits so well.
It's so good.
It's got this beautiful little electric part at the end that I really enjoyed. Yeah.
Some wooden drums in the background, which adds some nice texture. Ends in a fade out, but...
Oh, yes. I wrote down note for Bell. Bell's favorite, a very long fade out.
Mm-hmm. With a little solo that plays too.
Yeah, through the fade
That's
out.
my least favorite way to do is when you have a little solo that fades out.
Yeah.
Is what it is. It is what it is.
I like it.
This album's 0 out of 10, Courtney Bell. As a fade out.
So, okay, I want fade outs.
Bell doesn't like them.
Bell doesn't like
It
fade
comes up
outs,
every
but
episode
I
I bring
think
it up.
for me, fade outs work best when they are like their own section. Like when you transition to a final section of the song,
Okay.
as opposed to just like repeating. Like
Yeah,
sometimes
or
it's
just,
just
like, the
repeating
chorus
the
again.
chorus again.
Yeah.
And I think that when they work the best, and I think maybe you might agree, is that if he goes, "Oh, we did the last chorus, it's a big thing, and now we're gonna switch to this kind of like vibe to trail away on." I think that's because it feels more intentional than just being like, "Oh, we didn't write the rest of the song." We're like, "No, we wrote a part that we're supposed to fade out on. You got the whole package. If you want to cut the back half entirely or the back section entirely, go for it." But
Yeah, I also don't feel like it really offends me in this album because it is so dreamlike.
Mm-hmm.
So like things fading out when it's like already so surreal kind of makes sense. When it's like a rock song and you're just like walking away from the band playing, I'm like, I don't quite understand it there, but
sometimes a fade out
not
is
offensive.
because the band didn't know how to end a song. And sometimes a fade out is purposeful.
and I think especially like modern day fade outs tend to be purposeful because a lot of the times fade outs back in the day were because you knew that the last part of your song, if you wanted to be played on the radio, it made the DJ's life a lot easier because you could fade out and they just have to bring up the host.
Yeah, and it's just like, hey, welcome back to
You're listening.
105.5.
Yeah, you're listening to whatever 4 letters, and so like it was more of radio concession.
Yeah.
Like you just didn't make the end of the song because it was never played because most people would never hear it. So now when you do a fade out, because radio play does not really influence how people produce songs anymore.
Yeah, you don't see a lot of radio cuts anymore. For example, the radio cut for Purple Rain cuts out the guitar solo at the end. Why
Which is
would you do
insane.
that?
It's like
It's the best
part
guitar
of the
solo.
song.
It's a 6-minute song, and you cut out the 3 good minutes of it, which
Yeah.
is a 3-minute guitar solo.
I mean, the first 3 minutes are good, but
yeah,
their service to build to the whole. The reason that it was written to be a long song
yeah.
because of that. Yeah,
Tune in next week when we talk about Prince's Purple Rain.
Have we done a Prince album yet?
No, I own many Prince albums.
We should do a Prince
I've
album.
never
I
listened to
love
Prince
Prince.
before.
Prince is amazing.
Purple Rain.
Well, great news. We're not listening to a Prince album next week, but we might listen to it 4 weeks from now when it's my next pick.
Ooh.
Well, we're gonna listen to one more love song now. It's
You sounded so disappointed by that.
Wow.
We're gonna listen to one more love
no,
song
I
now.
love this song.
It's got some piano.
Yeah, it's another heartbreak song. This one's about the hurt that comes from your relationship ending and the fear of getting hurt again that creeps up as you start looking for your next one. This song's a bit longer, just over 4 minutes, but it's mostly instrumental for the drawn-out chorus. Or it's mostly instrumental or the drawn-out chorus. I don't mind it at all. I find the dreamy lyrics work really well, and I like the lines about putting these dreams you've had of your potential relationships to bed, because it turns out you were wrong, and it was just another bad relationship. Mac is a blunt guy, but as a serial dater, it's a real feeling. You just gotta be like, I dreamt that this was gonna go here and do this, but it didn't. No point being sad and just moving on kind of thing. The production value on the song is awesome. The layers of warm, thick instrumentation work so well, and the vocal tracks of Mac harmonizing with himself in the chorus hit so hard. The piano in this song is also used in a fun way with the way they strike really hard alongside the drum beat to really punctuate the singing in the chorus.
No.
Really enjoy it.
Is there wah wah on the guitar or is it electric piano? I can't tell. There's
after the chorus.
Yeah.
I think that's.
Is that the
It's
guitar
tough
or
to
is that
tell.
electric piano?
It's like
I
a
can't
really
tell.
because it's kind of got the pluckiness of a guitar.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I can't tell.
I don't
anyway,
know.
I liked it.
Yeah. And also, I think the liner notes for this just say, I played every instrument. They don't actually like say each track what was played on it.
Yeah.
We'll find out later. I'm going to guess piano. I'm going to be on the right side of history because Mac is going to listen to this episode and
Mac
DM
is going to
us.
listen to this episode?
Yeah, he's a big fan. We are the number 2 podcast
In the
for
Lower
music
Mainland.
education in the greater Vancouver area.
Yeah.
Wow.
Shout out Nardwar.
Shout out,
for
yeah,
being
shout
number
out
1.
Nardwar. Yeah.
Um,
Has Mac or Marco ever been on Nardwar?
Yeah.
I would kill to see
probably.
that. I would kill to see that interview.
Well, you're just one Google search away.
No, it couldn't be me.
Adam, what did you think of this song?
I love the addition of piano. The more I hear Mac experiment with instrumentation, the more of his stuff I find a little frustrating. Because I know he has such a specific tone. Like when we listened to 5 Easy Hot Dogs,
Mhm.
I remember thinking like, okay, this is cool, but it is a lot of the same instrumentation. Though you said that was what he wrote. He wrote that on tour. Most of
Yeah,
that?
so the song names are the cities that he wrote the songs in.
So I get that he was probably playing with a very bare bones kit, so he didn't have the time to get a piano.
Mm.
But I really enjoy his use of extra instrumentation because he has such a strong understanding of texture and tone that I think is what makes his music really appealing. So I love the piano on this. And the kind of like the dub, the reggae kind of bass line is good. Adds a kind of levity to it. This fade out does not feel. I liked the fade. I didn't mind the fade out in Dreams from Yesterday or in Sheep's Clothes. Which one? Yeah,
Wolves in sheep clothes, wearing sheep clothes.
I
Yeah.
didn't mind the fade out in Sheep's Clothes. This fade out just feels like it happens. I was like, oh, it's over.
It's over.
It didn't feel.
I actually don't mind it because again, it's like a song that's pretty sad. It's down, and it kind of just like continues that feeling. It's like that because it's a cycle of despair of the relationship going, it ending, you fearing starting another one, you start it again, it's another heartbreak. It's like kind of to me just represents that cycle that's happening of trying and trying again. So it fading out is just like showing that the cycle continues, but it does happen pretty quick. And then it's like a long bit of silence at the end, which is not my favorite. It's like I kind of just want to move on to the next song, but is what it is.
Mhm.
If you like the instrumentation, though, again, listen to One Way in G. It's really interesting listening to all the demos because it's organized by date. You'll like hear him get into certain instruments. So like clearly at this era, he would have been into this set of instruments that he's using.
He like
throughout
picked
the whole
something
album.
up from the store and he's like, okay, I'm gonna make stuff with it.
Pretty much. So it's really interesting. There's one where it's like really weird digital stuff, and you hear like this weird digital kick drum that he uses in like 6 demo songs in a row because like clearly he's like trying to make it work, and then it's dropped and never comes back in the demos again. But after this, we get On the Level. Similar to My Old Man, On the Level is about getting older, but this one instead has a father talking to his son, telling him to stop being afraid of getting older and to be a man.
Be a man.
Like I mentioned in the intro, Mac introduces a lot of interesting stories and concepts, but doesn't really tell you a whole lot. And this is one where I feel like the concept was left pretty unexplored
Yeah.
in a negative way, because the second verse could have been a bit more direct, since the first one's blunt with the stand up straight and stop crying. But the second one's from the son's perspective, and I wasn't able to really glean much meaning from him saying that he never had a choice, chance, or a voice. But I guess maybe I just can't relate to the story being told, so I don't know.
Yeah. It's got a little cool synth part at the beginning. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, it's a real vapor wavy
Yeah.
vibe to this song. I think lyrically it sounds like he's kind of grappling with the like desire to be like, well, you like blaming his father for his problems, but also like trying to not neglect his own agency. Right? Like I feel like the first half of the song is like, oh, it's like his dad coming and being like, wow, look at you. You've become your own dude. I'm so proud of you. And then he's like, it's cool. So now like I have your name. But like you weren't there, like, screw you, I did this in spite of you kind of thing. It is very vague, which is good because it might be a little mean if it was more specific. But it's another kind of song where if you didn't listen to the lyrics, you wouldn't have any idea that it was like that emotional.
Yeah, I like the static pulses through the verses. To me, it adds a bit of conflict, like you're remembering an unpleasant conversation. It just adds a little bit of off, which I think really suits the song. Speaking of unpleasant conversations, we get Moonlight on the River, a song that's more directly about his relationship with his dad. He sings about the conflict of how he doesn't say see you later because he doesn't think he will. He doesn't say I love you because he doesn't. And how it's a conflicting feeling because you're supposed to love your family, but when you're left behind, it's understandable that you don't. The chorus is simple with him seeing that the time with his time with his father is coming to an end. So he's saying goodbyes and coming to terms with the fact that everybody dies. His dad was diagnosed with cancer and he ended up dying in December of 2021. I'm sure it was challenging. He's trying to relate to this guy who was in the hospital dying, but knowing that he doesn't know what to do. He doesn't know whether to leave him in the dark and let him, die without talking to him, or whether to kind of try to finish off this relationship while he can. It's interesting.
Yeah, like there's a lyric near the end of the song, like, it ain't like I ain't used to going on without you, is like super heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
definitely.
And the song ends with an instrumental that's almost 3 minutes long, and it gets more intense and dark with shrieking offbeat guitars that really add to that feeling of internal turmoil about the situation. And then it ends with a clip of Mac's dad, but it's really hard to understand. Genius said it was him saying, say no to drugs, but my body says yes. But I don't hear that. At least not the my body says yes part. So I don't know. Again, I think it's an interesting level of vulnerability to share. It's like, I don't think I care about him dying, but I do, I guess. And again, that ending section I think is really powerful.
Yeah, the song's incredible. This is an absolutely incredible track. The swelling synths, the low-key vibe, and then the noise that builds into the end. He's firing on all cylinders on this one. This is a great track.
Which is crazy. It's only got 6 unique lines of lyrics, and yet you really feel that pain or in the shoes. So good.
Yeah.
It is the longest song on the album by quite a bit.
Every second is earned. It's so good. This is a beautiful, beautiful track.
And it ends with watching him fade away. Like the last song, this is another direct song about his dad dying of cancer, and he doesn't know. He doesn't know if he should call him up, yell at him, let him die. Either way, it hurts watching him die of cancer.
Yeah.
It's, I guess, a fitting tribute to his dad for it to end like this, where I don't know if Mac ever got that closure, but no matter what, I'm sure it was very challenging to deal with. I did watch one live show that happened a month after his dad died, and he plays the song, has everyone sit on the floor, and he just kind of like unceremoniously like, my dad died last month, and this song is about him. And then he sings it, but he's still like kind of goofy during it all. So like, again, it's hard to see how much something like that can affect you when he went so long without his dad. And then when he was in his life, it was so infrequent. And I think the simplicity of the song really suits this subject matter. It's just him and a little synth. He's got reverby vocals, and that's it. It feels really raw. He's just exploring those feelings while we're listening.
It's kind of a nice little like bookend to the album.
Sure. Yeah, I agree with that.
I think it's a very sweet, sad track. Sweet in the, I guess maybe not sweet, but emotional. Very honest, it's so stripped down, right? It is just him and a little electric piano. And it's a very powerful way to end the album. And it kind of, not only can be directly about his father, but it also kind of summarizes a lot of the themes of changing and growing and watching the past fade away and what you knew, whether that be relationships, the way your relationship was, like compared to now, it's all kind of just fading away, and you're always just gonna still be here. You know, it's I think it's a great way to cap off the album.
This is gonna be controversial. I think this could have ended with a fade out.
Yeah, it should have. It should have
kinda
faded
Because it's in
away.
the title.
Yeah.
Sure. It just kind of ends. And I feel like, again, staying in this moment of uncertainty and introspection, I think it would have worked really well. Again, with it getting, like, the end of the album is a lot darker than the start. You know, the second half of the album is like, it's a mirror of the first half, but darker. You know, it starts off being like, things are different, but it's good. Things are changing, but it's good, to being like, I don't know how things are changing, and it's hard. So I think it would have been interesting to end with a fade out and leave us in that moment of like, even though it can seem really easy to move on, maybe it's not, but it doesn't, and that's fine. But that's the only time I'll say something needed a fade out. If I ever say it again, give us 5 stars on your platform of choice, but I don't think I will. Let's talk about the album itself. This is a big yellow record.
It sure is.
Or I should say a cover. On the front, it's a bunch of doodles. The song names are on there, but they're all kind of scrambled up. There's, like a sword, a drawing of a sword, a mountain with eyes and a smile. Lots of weird faces, little ghosts. His height, his age at the time. A lot of random stuff, but they're very cute doodles. Like, I could see people having these tattooed. I could see a hipster man with a tiny mustache and tiny toque on the top of his head having all of these on his arms.
A Vancouver man.
Truly. But I really enjoy it. It kind of just like, this is a song about life and about experiences, and this is just drawings of experiences in life and places he's been and things he's done or whatever like that. And I think it's really neat. And it says "This Old Dog" in his handwriting at the bottom. On the back, it's just a little peace sign drawn out, and then the credits and copyright stuff in the bottom corner. Mm-hmm. Even the side spine is just like written in his handwriting, which I really like. It is a gatefold. Opening it up, we have that same drawing, but like projected on a wall. And then Mac is like a little gremlin with his hood up, but his ears on the outside of the hood, just kind of squatting down. Very odd. Some thank yous are written. And then how it's written, recorded by Mac D at Jizz Jazz Studios, which I believe is his studio, as he has his own record label now, and how it's mixed by him and someone else and mastered by another dude. The album itself is just black, with the label being, again, all like handwritten. It sounds good. I don't know how much I paid for it or when I got it. I've been gifted many Mac albums. I have bought many Mac albums. If I had to guess, I probably paid like $30. But yeah, Jamie, what's your final verdict?
Let's see. I place this above Black Sabbath's Master of Reality and below Lana Del Rey's Did You Know There's a Tunnel Under Ocean Boulevard, which is perennially our number 4. So Mac DeMarco is now in number 5.
Wow.
I liked it.
Great
I'll listen to more.
Will you?
I probably will. In fact, I have. So say less.
Yeah.
That's what you guys said.
Coming in, having already been a fan of Mac DeMarco, I was excited to explore this album because I haven't really listened to it outside of a few tracks here or there. And it's a really great album. And I think it's a great introduction, whether you like, if you want something that is lyrically thoughtful and emotional, you can get that from this album. If you want something that's laid back and easy to put on in the background, you can get that from this album. If you want a trippy, summery vibe, that's here on this album. And I think it kind of distills a lot of what makes Mac DeMarco a unique artist. Like, this is a great... If I was to show somebody Mac DeMarco, I would probably show them this album. And yeah, I think it's a excellent album. Really, really like it. I love the growth that Mac shows on it in production, in songwriting, in lyricism and introspection. And for me, it is going to go underneath Frank Ocean's Blonde and above Weezer's Blue album in the number 7 spot on my list.
Cool.
Nice.
We have reviewed 16 albums to this point. I think that's wild. The season just keeps chugging along.
You better believe it. I love this album. It's a great length, a great vibe, and if you want to get in your feels, you can, but if you don't, just enjoy the dreamy, warm vibes. Lots of people say Salad Days is Mac's best album, but for me, I consistently find myself coming back to This Old Dog, and I don't think this is going to change anytime soon. I'm putting This Old Dog by Mac DeMarco in the 2nd spot under Blonde by Frank Ocean and above Being So Normal by Peach Pit. I highly recommend checking out this album and other music by Mac, and I hope I get to catch him on tour sometime because, man, the vibes are immaculate. You know, I think albums that I can listen to in like any mood or any time, kind of benefit in the ranking for me. As an album can be great, but if I never listen to it, like how good is it? And as a piece of vinyl, this is something I find myself going to quite a lot. And I was like, is it better than Blonde? No, like as a package, Blonde is better, and I think that the production value is really, really quite impressive with Blonde. But I do find myself coming back to this album so often. Highly recommend it. But next week is Jamie's pick.
It's true.
What are we listening to?
We're listening to the Cars debut album, The Cars.
The Caz.
The Caz, because they're another band from Boston.
You won't believe this, but Boston.
Boston.
What's wrong with Boston?
We reviewed Boston. He didn't like the
like
one
that.
song that just said they're just another band out of Boston, and then like talked about how famous they are, but the album hadn't come out yet.
Yeah, but I've never listened to the Cars. Do they have a song like that?
No,
Thank God. Already better than Boston.
the Cars is a new wave group.
I don't even know what New Wave is. I'm excited to listen.
All right, say less. What do you want to talk about for our aftercare section, Bill? Oh, put you on the spot, didn't I?
What topics do you like albums about? Like, is there a certain, like, do you like this one's about, like, there's about his dad, about heartbreak.
Yeah.
Is there a certain topic that you find you like albums to be about? Or do you not care? Do you like albums that don't have a collective theme?
So not so much a collective theme, but if like the songs are going to be about something, I like songs about. Sometimes I like songs about nature.
Do you have an example?
Like Neil Young has a good.
We are the world.
Yeah, not that song.
Oh.
Neil Young has a song about how we used to live, with nature, and now we're slowly paving it over, and like the loss of farmland to, building subdivisions and stuff like that, and he's talking about how like the town he grew up in you can't recognize anymore because it's grown up so much from when he was a youth. And I like songs like that where it like reflects on something, or like it reflects. So in this one, it reflects on the loss of something he treasured, which was the nature that he grew up with. And so I like songs like that are sort of reflective. But I don't know if if I had to deal with an album that was just about love and loss the entire time, I don't think I would enjoy it. I like it kind of like a varied album.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any specific, like I don't go into an album looking for specific topics, but I know that there's there's not a whole lot I don't care about. If whatever you're singing about I don't care about, then maybe that's a failure on the artist's part in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
Is that I think they should be making me care. I do tend towards enjoying like a lot of like darker themes on albums though. Like I don't mind an album that is very heavy or aggressive or violent or just talking about dark themes and stuff. Because I find that while this might not be albums that I want to listen to all the time, I like their ability to let me kind of live vicariously through them, like to feel emotions that I don't usually have to feel. Thankfully, that I don't have to feel these dark and awful emotions. So being able to feel them through the music and experience them that way,
yeah.
I think is really, really, really cool, which I think is why I tend towards like a lot of really kind of dark and heavy music
Sure.
for a lot of stuff. And that might just be because of what I ended up getting into as a kid, with like having a big metal phase and stuff in university and high school. But yeah, I'm really open to anything. You can make a song about whatever, and it's fun. Like
a Raspberry Beret.
Yeah, yeah. Or The Trees, where you can make it like by Rush, where it's a song about like Ontario politics, or
yeah.
But it's a metaphor. But then he makes it in a forest. Like sure.
Yeah. Yeah, we covered that a song about Ontario last year when we covered the Crosby, Stills and Nash Young album. Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young album. Because the song "Helpless" is just about like the town, like a little town in Ontario. There's no politics in it. The Trees is a good song about politics, but yeah.
Yeah, I like introspective songs. Like I like to kind of vicariously live through someone else's experiences and kind of reflect on my own, which is like, again, why I like this album. I think as long as it's not like Adam said, so dark. Like I didn't like the song about assault on Stone Temple Pilots, and it kind of took me out of the mood. I mean, it happened pretty early in the album, so it didn't derail everything, but it's like, I don't want to listen to that. Same with like why I don't listen to early Tyler the Creator. It's like, no, I don't find value in that. But I find most things I can enjoy, but I like to be able to put myself in the shoes and experience something, whether or not I can relate it. I think it's really neat.
I think it's part of it is how they talk about assault. Like I think one of the issues with early Tyler the Creator is that he just kind of throws it out there for the sake of being shocking, not for the sake of being impactful or insightful about it. Whereas I've also like really listened to there's an artist called Lingua Ignota, and they have an album that's it's called like, it's entirely about them being like sexually assaulted at various points in their life.
Jesus.
And it is super heavy, but it's a super powerful album, and I don't find the lyrical content to be off-putting. I find it difficult and very emotional, and that album is that. Like there's songs where there's like a song on it where she's talking about how she wants to like kill and murder the people who've like the person who's like her and stuff like that. Like it's very heavy, but it's not off-putting in the way of like just casually dropping a joke, you know? Because at least it's coming in to explore that idea, and it's with the severity that it kind of deserves in a sense.
Sure,
right?
I'm sure it's powerful, but like Bell, I wouldn't want to listen.
Yeah,
to
it's the kind of album it's like it's one of those albums where you're like, wow, that was incredible.
I'll never listen.
I don't need to listen to that again.
Yeah,
it was like I thought the same thing after watching like the movie 12 Years a Slave. I was like, that was an amazing movie. I don't want to watch that again.
That was me with Skinamarink. I'm like, that truly brought new emotions into my life that I don't want to feel.
Fair.
My God, was that dreadful in the way of like literally bringing dread into my life? I don't need to watch that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, make sure to tune in next week. Share your thoughts in the comments. Rate us 5. I checked our Spotify rating, the highest any podcast has ever had. So make sure to give us 5.
We got 5.1.
It's crazy.
We are literally the top-rated podcast in the world. Yeah,
second behind Hardware Only.
And for the listener at home, if you want to listen to that Neil Young song I was talking about, it's called "Here We Are in the Years."
I'm going to bleep that. They can't listen to it. Listen to the episode that we covered it in.
No, we didn't cover that. We didn't cover that song.
All right, I guess I'm going to bleep it.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.